Welcome back to another episode of r/Idontworkherelady. I hope you all enjoyed today's stories and leave a big fat like on this video. Now let's get right into it. I got reported to management for a company I don't work for. Happened a few years ago. A friend and I decided to hit up GameStop to see if there was anything worth buying. I just happened to be wearing a polo shirt and a lanyard/ID around my neck because I had just left the office. This kid comes up to me in the Xbox section and asks me if a certain game is available for PS3. He must have been about 12. Knowing a fair bit about video games, I happen to know that yes, this title was available on multiple consoles. I went ahead and answered him in the affirmative yes, this title was available for PS3. He simply says, "Get it for me." I pause and look down at this kid and say, "Excuse me? Get it for me. I want to buy it." I tell him, "How about you get it for yourself? The shelf is right there," and point off into the distance. I start to turn away and he forcefully demands again that I get him this damn game. I went ahead and kneeled down so that I was eye level with him and told him, "If you want the game so bad, walk your butt over there and pick it up. I'm not doing it for you." The kid runs off and gets his mom. My buddy and I are having a good chuckle at this. We get our games and head off to stand in line. While we're making our way through the line, here comes the kid again with his mom in tow. This GameStop is attached to a bookstore, so I guess mom decided to let GameStop babysit her little hellspawn while she sneaked off to look at 50 Shades of Lame. Mom is throwing a shit fit at the front, saying that some employee told her child walk his fat butt over to the shelf and get a game himself, and she demanded that said employee is fired. Right about now, my buddy and I are stepping up to the register to pay for our games while mom and her kid are looking for said employee. The kid looks up at me and goes, "That's him." Mom just explodes on me with a ton of vitriol. She's going to have me fired and blah blah blah. Meanwhile, my buddy and I are cracking the hell up. He's telling me stuff like, "Oh no, you're going to get fired, dude," and asking the person ringing us up if we could have the employee discount before I'm terminated. This circus is only causing me to laugh harder, which in turn is making her even more angry. In the midst of me on the verge of tears from laughing, this lady losing her crap, my buddy goading this woman on further and screwing with the GameStop employee is asking for my employee discount, the manager comes up front and asks what's going on. The lady explains how I was rude to her son and refused to do my job. How I used foul language at her child, and I was very unprofessional. She wanted me gone, etc., etc. Manager looks at me, looks back at this lady, at me, back at lady, and tells her, "Ma'am, he doesn't work for GameStop." Dead silence. My buddy then speaks up and says, "So I take it that's a no-go on his employee discounts?" Forced racist rich lady to dumpster dive. Some time ago, I had a job as a runner for a crappy horror movie company. Part of my job as a runner was to go to the bank to make various deposits and withdrawals for both the company and the boss. I went to the bank almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day. The bank was in a really upscale neighborhood, so it was not uncommon to see some really high-end cars in the nearby lot where I parked. The lot was not free if you were just parking to walk the area, but you could give validation if you went to certain specific businesses, like the bank a few buildings away. At this point, I had been at my job for about 3.5 years, which meant I had been to this lot easily about 1,000 times. I knew a lot of the workers in the area by name, including the lot workers. We talked a lot, and oftentimes I would get away with not getting validation, even on days I wasn't working. I was in my mid-20s, and was often in shorts, flip-flops, and a merchandise shirt from my company. We didn't have uniforms, so they just gave me a ton of shirts from their movies so I would have some kind of identifier while I was out working. Now, I should mention that I am Hispanic with pretty dark skin. Normally, I wouldn't even bother mentioning that because who cares? You know who cares? Rich, entitled people. I've seen my fair share of veiled racism and typecasting over the years. Hell, even at that lot, I've been asked multiple times to park people's cars. They usually apologize and look embarrassed when I point out the guys in the polo shirts and vests with the name of the lot on them, so I usually just roll my eyes and go about my day. Occasionally, I'll get someone rude that will snap their fingers at me, which I extremely hate. or chuck their keys at me, in which case I'm usually a little more of an ass, but nothing major. On this day, I was in a fairly poor mood. My company was starting to do some shady stuff and was screwing over employees. A lot of people hadn't been paid in weeks, and I was on half checks. The only reason I got any money was because the main meat of my job had me driving anywhere from 4 to 12 hours a day, and I can't do that without gas, which they reimbursed me for on top of my paycheck. So I'm on my way to the bank. I bought a strawberry smoothie for lunch, as I knew there was no chance I was going to make it back to the office to eat the food I brought. I pull into the non-valet parking in the lot, chat with the attendant while I grab my ticket, and start walking towards the bank. I hear someone shouting loud, "Jose! Hey, Jose!" But obviously I ignore it as my name is not Jose. I walk past the lady shouting when I feel something smack me in the back of the head, dropping my glasses. I pick up my glasses and turn around and see this red-in-the-face lady glaring angrily at me. I was super pissed. I looked down to see what hit me, and of course, it was her car and house keys. This lady literally threw her keys at a stranger's head. She was driving some really nice Escalade that looked like it was probably fully loaded and detailed regularly. I pick up her keys and shout, "What the F, lady?" She shouts back, "Didn't you hear me calling you, you effing beaner? It's your damn fault for ignoring me. I'm late for my hair appointment. Park my gosh dang car." I was absolutely dumbfounded. I tried to explain to her that I didn't work there, but she was not having it. Every time I opened my mouth, she called me something even more demeaning and racist, questioning my intelligence and threatening to get me fired. She started walking away, so I decided to screw it. I hurried up and walked to the restaurant next door and shouted, "Hey lady!" She turned around, steaming at her ears. I said as calmly as I could manage, "I don't work there." Then I dropped her keys in my half-full smoothie and chucked it as hard as I could into the restaurant's dumpster. The look on her face when the cup exploded in pink chunks as her keys dropped into a stanky dumpster was absolutely the freaking best. I walked away flipping her off as she turned and ran back to the attendants. After I did all my bank business, I went back to the lot and saw her shouting at the security guard and pointing at me. The security guard, who of course I knew, asked me what happened. I told him she threw her keys at me, started shouting obscenities, and refused to take them back when I tried to explain that I didn't work there, and also that I threw them in my smoothie and chucked them in the trash next door. He was holding back his laughter when I finished. She tried to get him to call the cops on me, but he explained to her that she willingly gave me her keys and refused to take them back, telling her that she should have taken that extra second to listen to what I was trying to tell her. She then demanded that one of the workers go into the dumpster and fish the keys out, but he just pointed at a sign that said that the lot takes no responsibility for lost or stolen property. He then informed her that her Escalade was blocking traffic into the lot and that if she didn't move it in 15 minutes, he would call a tow truck to move it. She did not like that. She let him know she didn't through racist ranting and grandstanding. He stood there quietly the whole time and took it. When she finally finished, he looked down at his watch and told her, "You have 7 minutes, ma'am." Wouldn't you know it, she angrily trudged off towards the dumpster. We had a good laugh about it, but he told me not to do it again. As I pulled out of the lot, I got a nice view of her in the dumpster, furiously throwing everything everywhere. I honked and waved as I passed and went about my day with a big smile on my face. The next day, one of the lot guys told me that they ended up having to tow her Escalade. I guess she couldn't find her keys. Oh well, hope the hairdresser didn't mind her smelling like garbage. I'm not sure about the legality of this all, or if I would have been in any actual trouble if the police had been called. She just caught me on a bad day. I don't feel the least bit sorry about what I did though. I guess the moral of the story is don't be racist trash. And also, don't give your keys to anyone like an idiot. You are a racist. I want to see your boss. This story takes place about a year ago. At that time, I worked security at a big box store. I was on my way home from work, I was still in uniform, and decided to stop at a grocery store to find something for dinner. Normally, I am the kind of shopper that is in and out very quickly, but I had a super bad day at work and wanted something nice for dinner. So I wander lazily around the store, unwinding and figuring out what I want to eat. I go down the canned goods aisle, and this lady looks at me, spins around at the speed of sound, and starts screaming at me. Crazy lady will be CL, and I will be me. Crazy lady: what the F do you want? I'm not stealing anything. Stop following me, you racist swear word. I want to speak with your boss. I was in shock for a moment as she went from totally silent to ear-splitting loud in 0.2 seconds. Lady, I'm not following you. I don't even work here. Yes, you do. I see you in here all the time. I hardly ever come to this store. I'm gonna get you fired for this. I'm trying my hardest not to start screaming back at her. Ma'am, as I just said, I do not work for this company. I'm just a customer. Now please leave me alone. For whatever reason, this made her even more pissed off, and she started babbling incoherently at higher and higher volumes. At this point, I have had enough, and I walk off before she tries to attack me. As I exit the aisle, a manager comes up and says that he heard the screaming and asks if everything is okay. She barrels down the aisle like a T-Rex pursuing its prey and demands that she be compensated for being discriminated against. I tell the manager that she just started going off on me, and all I want is to finish shopping. The manager confirms that I do not work for him and even points to my company logo on my uniform. My company logo looked nothing like the grocery store logo. Well, Rexy, or Crazy Lady, is having none of it and continues screaming, calling the manager a liar, until the manager tells her to leave or he'll call the police. She stomps out the door and the manager apologizes to me, offering me a discount on my purchase. I turned him down as none of it was his fault, but he insists, so I accept and go home to make my fully loaded nachos. Let me tell you, they were some damn fine nachos. Alright you guys, that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed these stories today, and if you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up on this video, and if you're new to my channel, subscribe for future videos just like this one. And I'll see you guys in the next video.